If a killer tells you beforehand that he's going to commit murder, and then actually goes through with it, could you stop him? In 1969, one man did exactly that. He confessed to killing 5 people, claimed responsibility for 37, sent ciphers to the police, and got away every time. This is the story of the world's most mysterious serial killer, the Zodiac Killer. The case of the Zodiac Killer. In the fog-shrouded streets of San Francisco during the late 1960s, a terror emerged that shook America to its core. An unknown murderer, who dubbed himself Zodiac, didn't just take the lives of innocent people. He taunted the police and media with letters and sent ciphers that, even half a century later, haven't been fully solved. This isn't just the story of one man, but of a mystery that has baffled detectives, journalists, and ordinary people around the world for decades. The greatest irony, however, is that the most important character in this story, the Zodiac Killer himself, remains unidentified to this day. His birth, childhood, family, real identity, everything is shrouded in mystery. Still, through police records, his own letters, and the statements of surviving witnesses, we can piece together fragments of his story, understand the murders that shook an entire generation. If the Zodiac Killer's birth isn't recorded on any specific date, the birth of his reign of terror was in 1968. This was an era of immense change in America. The Vietnam War had divided society, hippie culture was at its peak, and San Francisco, even after the Summer of Love, remained a symbol of freedom and love. But behind the city's golden bridge and beautiful hills lurked a darkness no one had anticipated. The small towns of Northern California, Vallejo, Benicia, Napa were considered quiet and safe. Young couples would go on dates to lovers' lanes, sitting under the stars and talking. They had no idea that a predator was stalking those very deserted roads, ready to make their happiness his target. We can't say anything definite about the Zodiac's early life. Still, his mindset can be inferred from his letters and methods. He was educated, as his ciphers were complex and his language reflected a strange intellectuality. He was likely lonely, disconnected from society, a person lost in his own fantasies. He named himself Zodiac, derived from the zodiac signs, indicating he saw himself as an agent of some greater cosmic force. He didn't view his acts as mere murders, but as a game where he outwitted the police and terrorized the public. It was a cold evening on December 20th, 1968. Near the city of Benicia in Solano County, Lake Herman Road was a desolate area where young couples often went for privacy. Around 8:30 p.m., 17-year-old David Arthur Faraday arrived to pick up his girlfriend, Betty Lou Jensen, 16. David was a student at Vallejo High School, and Betty attended Hogan High School. The two met one of Betty's friends and then headed towards Lake Herman Road around 9 p.m. Between 10:15 and 10:30 p.m., a passing motorist saw them parked in a gravel area near the gate of a pumping station. They were seen again around 11 p.m. That was the last time they were seen alive. Sometime between 11:05 and 11:10 p.m., something happened that ended 2 young lives forever. Police investigation revealed the killer had parked his car about 10 feet from the passenger side of Faraday's car. He fired multiple shots at Faraday's car as Faraday was moving towards the driver's side. The first shots hit no one. Panicked, David and Betty tried to escape through the passenger door. Betty managed to get out. As David was getting out, the killer shot him in the head with a .22 caliber pistol. He then chased the fleeing Betty and fired 6 shots into her back, 5 of which struck her. At 11:10 p.m., a motorist saw their bodies and notified police. Betty was dead. David was still breathing but died on the way to the hospital. There were no witnesses, no tire tracks, no footprints. The police were left with one question: who would do this and why? 7 months passed. On July 4th, 1969, America was celebrating its Independence Day. In Vallejo, 22-year-old Darlene Elizabeth Farron was at home. She was married, but that evening she was going on a date with 19-year-old Michael Reno Majo, whom she had met at a local restaurant where she worked. Around 11:30 p.m., a phone call came to Darlene's house. She then went to Michael's house, and the two of them left. As they left the house, they noticed a light-colored car following them. Darlene drove out of Vallejo towards Lake Herman Road. Shortly before midnight, she turned her car into an empty parking lot at Blue Rock Springs Park. It was the same area, just 2 miles from Lake Herman Road, another lover's lane. About 80 feet to their left, another car was parked. The driver turned off his headlights and sat motionless. Michael asked who it was. Darlene said not to worry. After a while, the stranger suddenly drove away. 5 minutes later, he was back, and this time he parked a few feet from Michael's side. He got out and shone a flashlight inside their car. Thinking it was a police officer, they rolled down the window on Michael's side. Without saying a word, the stranger opened fire with a 9mm pistol. One bullet hit Michael's right arm, another struck Darlene in the neck. Michael tried to get out, but the door on his side wouldn't open. The handle was either broken or had been removed. The killer went to his car, opened the door, and did something Michael couldn't see. Then he returned and fired 2 more shots into each of them. Around 12:10 a.m., a caretaker at a nearby golf course heard the gunshots. Soon after, 3 teenagers arrived at the parking lot, saw the wounded couple, and called for help. Police arrived at 12:20 a.m. 20 minutes later, Darlene was pronounced dead at the hospital. Michael survived and provided a description of the killer, a heavy-set white man, about 5 feet 8 inches tall, weighing 195 to 200 pounds, with a large face, curly light brown hair, and dark clothing. Shortly after 12:40 a.m., a call came into the Vallejo Police Department. The call was made from a payphone just 2 blocks from the police headquarters. The caller said, "I want to report a double murder. If you go east on Columbus Parkway about a mile, you'll find kids in a brown car at the public park. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." This was the first known voice of the Zodiac, and he had linked the 2 crimes himself. A month later, on July 31st, 1969, 3 major San Francisco newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald, received similar letters. Each letter also contained 1/3 of a cipher. The letter read, "Dear Editor, this is the murderer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman and the girl last 4th of July. To prove this, I will state some facts which only I and the police know." He then provided details like the brand of ammunition, the number of shots fired, and the victims' positions, information only the police would know. He threatened that if the letters weren't printed on the front page, he would go on a killing spree the following weekend. At the end of each letter was a symbol, a circle with a cross through it like a gun sight crosshairs. This became the Zodiac's emblem. On August 4th, 1969, another letter arrived at the San Francisco Examiner. This time, he adopted his name for the first time. "This is the Zodiac speaking." He taunted the police, saying they couldn't catch him nor solve his cipher. But he didn't know that within days, 2 people would crack his code. Donald Hardin, a history teacher at a San Francisco high school, and his wife Betty saw the cipher printed in the newspaper. Donald had a hobby for cryptograms. Together with Betty, they began to solve it. After several days of hard work, they succeeded. It was the first time in history that ordinary citizens had solved a serial killer's cipher. The cipher read, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise and all the ones I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife, as you have in my current life." The Zodiac's message was chilling. He described murder as a game, a pleasure, and also revealed he was collecting victims to be his slaves in the afterlife. It was a glimpse into his psyche, one that baffled psychologists. On September 27, 1969, another couple became the Zodiac's victims. Brian Calvin Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia and Shepard, 22, were picnicking in a remote area of Lake Berryessa in Napa County. Around 6 p.m., a man approached them. He wore a strange hood on his head, an executioner-style hood with cutouts for his eyes and mouth. On his chest was a white cloth bearing the Zodiac symbol. The man had a knife. He told Brian and Cecilia he was an escaped convict who needed their car and money. He would take their car and leave them tied up. He bound them, but as he went to get their car keys, Cecilia tried to pull off his hood. The man then attacked them both savagely with his knife, stabbing Brian 6 times and Cecilia 10 times. After the attack, he left them for dead, but before leaving, he used a black felt-tip pen to write on Brian's car door, Vallejo/July 4th, 69/September 27-69-6:30/ by knife. Then he called the Napa Police Department from a payphone to report his crime. When police arrived, both were severely wounded but alive. Cecilia described the attack to police, but 2 days later, on September 29, 1969, she succumbed to her injuries. Brian survived and became a key witness against the Zodiac. On the night of October 11, 1969, the Zodiac claimed his final confirmed victim. Paul Lee Stein, 29, was a taxi driver working the night shift on the streets of San Francisco. Around 9:30 p.m., he picked up a fare on Mason Street. The passenger asked to be taken to the Presidio Heights area, near Washington and Maple Streets. When they arrived, the passenger put a 9mm pistol to the back of Paul's head and fired. He then took Paul's wallet, tore a piece of his shirt, and took his keys. After that, he walked away. Police initially thought it was a simple robbery, but 3 children had seen the man running away. When police arrived, those children told them they had seen a man, but the police didn't take them seriously and told them to leave. It later turned out the man they saw was the Zodiac. 3 days later, on October 13, 1969, a letter arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle, stating, "I am the murderer of the taxi driver shot last week in Presidio Heights. Here is a piece of his bloody shirt as proof." Enclosed with the letter was the very piece torn from Paul Stein's shirt. This was evidence only the killer could have provided. After 1969, the Zodiac sent more letters. On November 8, 1969, he sent the 340 cipher to the Chronicle, a code of 340 characters. This cipher remained unsolved for 51 years until 2020, when 3 amateur cryptologists cracked it. It read, "I hope you are having lots of fun trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me, where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise, so they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise." The Zodiac claimed to have killed 37 people. He also claimed responsibility for the 1966 murder of Sherry Jo Bates in Riverside, California, and the 1963 murders of Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards near Santa Barbara, but police could never definitively link these to him. The last confirmed letter arrived on January 29, 1974. In it, he praised the film The Exorcist. After that, the Zodiac fell silent, as if he had never existed. Police investigated thousands of suspects. Many names emerged, but no definitive evidence surfaced. The most discussed suspect was Arthur Lee Allen, a former elementary school teacher and convicted sex offender. Police interviewed him in 1969 and 1971, but his fingerprints didn't match those found in Paul Stein's taxi. Allen died in 1992. In 2014, a man named Gary Stewart claimed his father, Earl Van Best Jr., was the Zodiac. He cited handwriting experts and fingerprint evidence, but police didn't find it conclusive. In 2021, a group of 40 former investigators called Case Breakers claimed that Gary Francis Post, who died in 2018, was the Zodiac. They presented DNA evidence and facts linking him to the Sherry Jo Bates murder, but police stated that Bates' murder wasn't connected to the Zodiac. In 2024, Netflix released a documentary, This is the Zodiac Speaking, presenting new evidence about Arthur Lee Allen. Some people close to Allen claimed he would take them to the murder sites and had been seen in those areas before some of the killings. The Zodiac Killer was never caught. Therefore, there was no trial, no conviction. However, in the 1990s, there was a different Zodiac Killer in New York, Heriberto Seda, who committed several murders between 1990 and 1994 and called himself the Zodiac. He was arrested in 1996. His trial began on May 15, 1998, in Queens, New York, and he was convicted on June 20, 1998. He was sentenced to 152 years in prison, but police and the courts determined he had no connection to the California Zodiac. Today, more than 50 years later, the Zodiac Killer case remains one of the most famous unsolved cases in American history. The San Francisco Police Department declared the case inactive in 2004 but reopened it in 2006. The California Department of Justice, the FBI, the Vallejo Police Department, and the Napa County Sheriff's Department still consider it open. Will the Zodiac ever be caught? Will his identity ever be revealed? Modern DNA technology offers hope, but no success has been achieved yet. Every few years, someone makes a new claim, new evidence is presented, but in the end, the Zodiac's mystery remains. Perhaps that is his true legacy, a mystery that never ends. His letters, his ciphers, his symbols, everything is as vivid today as it was in 1969. And his victims, David, Betty, Darlene, Cecilia, Paul, their memories also live on, in the hearts of the families who still seek answers. The Zodiac Killer once wrote, "Man is the most dangerous animal of all." He proved himself to be a dangerous animal, but not the cleverest. He was merely lucky that the technology of his time wasn't sufficient to catch him. Today's technology might be able to identify him if the right evidence can be found. Until then, the ghost of the Zodiac will continue to roam the fog of San Francisco, like an unsolved question that never ends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you can be the first to hear about such real-life stories.